Hello everyone, it's me, Hydro King, and today we're going to be doing a one-shot Yu-Gi-Oh! What If? What if Mokuba was saved earlier? Now, for this What If, we're going to be discussing what would happen if Mokuba was rescued much earlier and joined with Yugi and the gang. So, with that being said, let's jump right in. So, things go like in canon, where Mokuba, under his disguise, was stealing star chips from people. And of course, Yugi and the gang go to investigate and get the star chips back. Of course, the interactions go as usual. Mokuba puts up somewhat of a decent fight to Yugi. And of course, Yugi asks, "Why are you doing this?" And Mokuba is like, "You took my brother away. I cannot forgive you. You must pay." And so, Yugi understands completely now about the situation. Of course, Mokuba steals his star chips. But of course, Yugi tells Mokuba, "You know, Mokuba, it's not right for you to do this. You know what you're doing is not the right thing. Come on, what do you say? You and I work together, and we could take down Pegasus." Mokuba thinks about it for a while. "You're right, Yugi. I'll help you take down Pegasus and get back to my brother." And so, of course, they agree to help defeat Pegasus and to make sure Kaiba Corp doesn't fall into his hands. Of course, they go back to this guy named Kimo, and he does one of the most jerkish moves I have ever seen. He basically slaps away the star chips from Mokuba's hands into the water. And he says to them, "Ha! You pipsqueaks should have had a tighter grip on your assets. And now, I'm going to make you pay for it." And so, he grabs Mokuba and threatens him to stay put. And he tells Yugi and the rest of the gang that he's a special guest of Pegasus. Now here, at this moment, is where things change. As Tristan, Joey, and surprisingly, Taya decide to jump in and attack Kimo. Of course, Kimo's a tough guy, but with all three of them working together, they managed to take down Kimo and rescue Mokuba. And so, they began running away from Kimo. Of course, Kimo isn't done with them yet. He brings in the backup plan. As Yugi and the gang are running away from Kimo, they stumble across Arena 146. And, to their surprise, they see what looks to be Kaiba. But they're just questioning why. Why is he even here? But they begin to notice something. Something's off about him. And so, he begins to speak. Well, if it isn't Yugi and the gang. And of course, my little brother. I'm so glad you brought him to me, Yugi. I might go even easy on you when I destroy you in Duel Monsters. Now, as we know in canon, this is not the real Kaiba. It's a fake Kaiba. Or, more specifically, it's the bad and evil parts of Kaiba. And so, the gang has discussed if they wanted to run away or not. But then, the fake Kaiba pulls out some dark magic. And he says, "You're not going anywhere. I will get my revenge on you, Yugi. You cannot escape this duel." And so, under these circumstances, they begin to duel. And of course, Kimo is very happy as he comes by, walking in Oh man, my backup plan is here. And then Joey, Tristan, and Taya look at him. Joey begins to say, "Hey, what are you doing here? You big creep. You want another beating?" Huh. You think you three beat me? You see, the only reason why you were able to beat me is because you three caught me off guard. But let me tell you this. I am a much better fighter than all three of you, and I'm stronger and faster and bigger than you. So don't even try it. But of course, Mokuba isn't going to take this very well. Says the guy who got thrown over seas. And so, with that little interaction out of the way, the duel with Yugi and fake Kaiba goes normal, with the real Kaiba helping out Yugi in this duel by essentially hacking into the system and making the Blue Eyes White Dragon weaker when it came to fake Kaiba summoning it. Of course, Yugi then says, "I know you're not the real Kaiba. I could sense the real Kaiba within me. Show yourself, you imposter." And so, the fake Kaiba begins to reveal himself in a very grotesque way, like in the anime. Well, you figured it out, Yugi. You see, I wasn't lying to you. I am Kaiba. Except I'm on the bad parts that he doesn't want. The bad parts that you sent to the Shadow Realm. Of course, Yugi beats the fake Kaiba. Kimo tries to grab Mokuba, but he gets beaten again. Seriously, this guy Kimo, he's like a little jobber. He loses to pretty much anyone under the right circumstances and in this what if. Now, another moment I would like to touch upon is when they escape from fake Kaiba and Kimo and all that. Pegasus begins to laugh. Oh my. It seems that Yugi Boy and his little gang have rescued Mokuba. That shouldn't be a problem, for I always have a backup plan. And so, Yugi, Mokuba, and the rest of the gang began to settle down, make camp. And it's then where they stumble across Mai. And of course, Joey and Tristan are very hungry. They don't trust Mai, but Mai is willing to give them food in exchange for letting them, for just resting. Because honestly, Mai wanted to rest too. And this is a moment I would like to touch upon, as Joey and Mokuba, surprisingly, began to talk to one another. Mokuba begins to say, "What's the reason why you want to duel? Why are you here?" And Joey says, "Ain't it obvious? I'm doing this for my sister. You see, she's about to go blind. And so, in order to save her eyes, I need to get her money for the surgery. And so, if I win this tournament, I can get the prize money and save her." "Oh wow, you have a little sister and you want to help her out? Man, that's so cool. You're a good big brother." And so, in this moment, Joey and Mokuba begin to really bond with each other and have some little bit of character development for each other. But of course, you gotta have in the silly moments where Mokuba's like, "Still though, if you're gonna win, you're gonna need to be a better duelist." Because at your current level, there's no way you could be my big brother. And Joey's like, oh yeah, wise guy, come here. And so they begin to tease each other and mess around with each other. Of course, we get the moments where Mai and the rest of the gang talk to each other, and Mai basically explains her philosophy of life and how she duels. Of course, she leaves the campsite and, like in canon, gets captured by Panic. Another moment in this what if is the Bakura. As you know, like in the anime, Bakura and the rest of the gang, including Mokuba, began to discuss what their favorite cards are, specifically what cards they identify with. Of course, Joey identifies himself with the Flame Swordsman, Tristan with the Cyber Commander, Taya with the Magician of Faith, Yugi with the Dark Magician, and Bakura with the Change of Heart. And of course, when it comes to Mokuba's favorite card, of course, it has to be the Blue Eyes White Dragon. And like in canon, Bakura changes into his Yami's self, and he turned this game into a shadow game, where the stakes are higher. So, like in canon, Yami Yugi and Yami Bakura battle each other out in a duel. Only this time Mokuba is there. And when he's summoned, well, he looks like a kid in a Blue Eyes White Dragon costume. Yeah. But of course, Yami beats Yami Bakura, and their souls return back to their bodies. Of course, the next time we see the gang, they notice that Maya's gone, and that she's doing Panic, the Eliminator. Again, like in canon, goes pretty much the same. Mokuba's there. But here's another moment. Another change in this timeline. Instead of Seto Kaiba coming to the rescue on his helicopter, Pegasus, knowing that Mokuba escaped and is with Yugi's gang right now, he's going to make things harder, especially for Seto Kaiba. And he says to himself, even though Mokuba escaped my grasp, doesn't mean that Kaiba boy will see his little brother. Not that easily, anyway. And so, he pushes a button, launches some missiles at Seto Kaiba's helicopter. Seto Kaiba crash lands onto the island. But in his mind, he says, Mokuba, I will come get you, no matter what it takes. So, this is the change. Seto Kaiba arrives to the island later, and he's in pretty rough shape. But still, he's a tough guy. Of course, the next day, Joey, Yugi, and the rest of the gang with Mokuba decided to wake up. And of course, as they're walking by, they're being stalked by 3 guys alongside their boss. And these guys reveal themselves as Stoger, Sid, and Bones. And they laugh to each other, saying that these guys are weak, and that taking star chips from them would be very easy. And they mention, especially with our boss. And of course their boss is Bandit Keith. That's right, you punks. No way you could have gotten this far without me. Bandit Keith. The U.S. International Continental Champion. Of course, like in the anime, the reason that Bandit Keith is here is because of his humiliating loss to Maximilian Pegasus. And so he wants to get revenge. So, here's where things are sort of different, but still line up with canon. Bandit Keith and his goons surround Yugi and the gang with Mokuba, and they try to force him to a duel. Of course, Joey and Tristan are not going to take this lightly and try to fight. But Stoger's there, Sid's there, and if you remember from the anime, Sid was able to help out Stoger, even just for a little bit, when it came to taking down Tristan. So, with this in mind, yeah, Yugi and the gang are forced into this confrontation. And so, they get knocked out and they're taken to a graveyard, where Bandit Keith gave Bones a very powerful zombie deck. And to have the graveyard field give his monsters a power boost. And so, of course, like in canon, they forced Joey to be up there and duel Bones. Like in canon, Joey defeats Bones with Battle Warrior and his spell card, Sword and Shield. With this, he's able to win his star chips and humiliate Bones. Of course, you know what happens. Bandit Keith and the gang leave, trap Yugi and the gang inside, and Bandit Keith steals star chips from his goons. And again, thanks to Bakura's Millennium Ring, they're able to find their way towards a labyrinth, where they meet the Paradox Brothers, who are also Eliminators hired by Pegasus. Of course, in the canon storyline, the Paradox Brothers told them that even if they won the duel, they have to choose between two doors to escape. Now, another change I'm going to make is, in the tag team duel, I'm not going to have Yami Yugi be a part of this. Instead, it's Mokuba with Joey. Now, you might be asking, Hydro, why would you have Mokuba with Joey? Well, it's simple. I figured through all the stuff that he's been through, all the stuff that he has seen, he would want to stand up for himself and show Yugi and the rest of the gang that he can properly duel with honor and respect. But there's probably going to be one guy out there that's like, you can't do that. Mokuba's not a duelist. What do you think this is, dueling? Settle down. Now listen. Even though it's not shown in the anime, just based off of duelings and all the other media that portrays him as the duelist, he's got some skill. And do you forget he's the little brother of Seto Kaiba, one of the top, if not the top ranked duelist in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! Before Yugi took that title. So yeah, Mokuba, he would know something. A lot more than something. So, in this duel, I'm going to be going a little bit in depth with it, but not too much. Mokuba and Joey start the duel, and at first, it's not going so well. But, thanks to Joey's trap card, Kunawa Chains, and his Axe Raider, really helped out a lot, especially when it came to the monsters such as the Wall Shadow. Of course, as the duel goes on, it's getting a little harder and harder. Especially since, well, Mokuba doesn't exactly have Yami Yugi's cards. But he's got plenty of powerful monsters, such as his Luster Dragon, Rude Kaiser, Hyozan Ryu, and other such monsters. Yeah, you notice that Mokuba's deck has a lot of dragons. And for some reason, Reptile, Plant, and a Hamburger. But we'll get into that later. So, as the duel goes on, Joey and Mokuba are getting along, but then at certain moments when things are starting to get heated, they start kind of insulting each other, telling one another that their strategy was stupid and that they shouldn't have done that. But Yugi in the game reminds them that they're a team. They need to work together in order to beat the Paradox Brothers. Of course, the Paradox Brothers give them the riddle that was meant to throw them off, but Mokuba is quickly able to point this out, knowing that he's a smart kid and all. Don't listen to him, Joey. That riddle's just meant to throw us off. Let's just focus on the duel. Of course, as this strange duel goes on, of course, the Paradox Brothers release and summon their ace monster, the Gate Guardian. Now, with this powerful monster in play, there's really not a lot of options for Mokuba and Joey. But, however, there is a solution to this. And so, as they stall out the battle, Joey sets up some trap cards, while Mokuba draws out this spell card, Pot of Greed. That's right. I told you that Mokuba knows what he's doing. And plus, being the little brother of Sayakawa, of course he's going to have access to some powerful cards. And so, with Pot of Greed, he's able to draw 2 cards. And one of those cards is the Blue Eyes White Dragon. And so, Mokuba thinks of a crazy idea. He doesn't know if this is going to work or not, but he writes down on a piece of paper and he tosses it to Joey. And Joey's like, "What's this?" Looks at the sheet of paper. He's like, "Oh, I see what you're doing." And so, of course, like in canon, Joey uses Copycat to copy Ryoku, a card the Paradox Brothers used against Mokuba and Joey, and Yami, Yugi, and Joey in the canon story. So, Joey uses a polymerization card, and he fuses his red eyes with Mokuba's Blue Eyes White Dragon in order to create the Purple Eyes Gray Dragon. And of course, the Paradox Brothers try to be sneaky by saying, that in this maze there is a no flying zone. Of course, Mokuba and Joy realize that the way that the purple-eyed great dragon can move is only through flight. However, luckily, Mokuba's got a plan. And so, he sets forth his rude Kaiser out in front of Gate Guardian. And the Paradox brothers laugh. Ha! You fell into our trap. Now you'll pay the price. That is for sure. Hopefully, you brought a lot of ice. And so, the Gate Guardian attacks, but Mokuba is like, ha! Gotcha! And he uses the trap card. Mirror Force. Of course, due to Gate Guardian's effect, it doesn't really affect him because the segments of Gate Guardian are able to protect each other. But of course, Mokuba activates another trap card. But this time, to target Suijin. And with this, he uses another card. Monster Shift. And he's able to switch places with Rude Kaiser and Suijin, with Purple Eyes, Great Dragon. And so, Mokuba says, "Take it away, Joey. You got it, Mokuba." Purple Eyes, Great Dragon! Inferno Lightning! And with that, Joey and Mokuba defeated the Paradox Brothers. Again, Yugi is able to solve this puzzle and lead him and the gang out to freedom. However, this isn't the end, as now Kaiba travels around the island, and it is here where he meets up with Kimo. Kimo, obviously knowing what his objectives are, he's like, "Settle Kaiba. It was a dumb mistake to come here. Mr. Pegasus will want to see you." Of course, Kimo gets beaten up by Kaiba, and Kaiba interrogates him. "Where is my little brother?" And Kimo's like, not sure. Maybe he got lost. That little pipsqueak wouldn't last on the island. You won't take me to my brother. And so, Kimo tries his best to stall Kaiba, knowing that he doesn't know where Mokuba is. He's like, "Sure, I'll lead the way." Of course, this means that there's another change in this timeline. It's very possible that Seto does not duel Joey or Yugi in this scenario. And so, through some coincidences, Yugi, Mokuba, and the rest of the gang somehow meet up with Seto Kaiba, with Kimo in hand. And Mokuba and Seto stare at each other. Seto knocks out Kimo, and they both run towards each other, hugging each other for a long time. "Big brother! Mokuba, you're safe. But how?" And Mokuba begins to begins to explain. It's all because of Yugi and Joey and all of them. They helped me escape. Kaiba looks shocked and impressed. And so, he gets in a calm, stoic posture. Yugi, Joey, thank you for rescuing my little brother. I owe you one. Joey, of course, acts a little arrogant. Don't mention it, Kaiba. And Yugi's like, of course. He is your brother, Kaiba. I would do the same for my grandfather. Pegasus has hurt many lives. That ends now. Seto nods. I agree. But we should be getting off the island. Of course, Mokuba, he's like, no. No way. You're just gonna walk away now? Did you forget what he tried to do to me? Or even worse, what if you never even found me? What if I got caught again? No, I'm not gonna let that happen. If Yugi helps save me, we should help save his grandpa. And Seto, he's shocked, seeing how Mokuba's willing to stand sides with Yugi and the gang. Even though Yugi just costed Seto his title, made him think to himself who he really is. Mokuba, instead of being that scared little kid that he's known for years, has grown way more confident and wants to help. And so Seto thinks about it. And he looks to his briefcase. And he's like, alright, I did say I owe you one. But after this, we're gonna have a major duel, Yugi. Just don't forget that. But, with that being said, I do have something here that could give us an advantage to beat Pegasus. And everyone looks to his briefcase. He's like, it's a new dueling system. Or as I like to call them, Dueling Discs. With this state-of-the-art technology, I could project holograms from anywhere. Just place your cards in the card reader, throw out the disc, and voila. So Seto begins to explain his technology, what it does. Basically, it's a prototype dual discs. But we'll get to that later again. So, Kaiba looks to Joey after Mokuba has explained everything that has happened up until this point. How Joey has a little sister named Serenity, and that he wants to help her out with her eye surgery, but it's going to cost a lot of money. And so Seto Kaiba goes over to Joey. Joey Wheeler. Joey looks to him. Yeah, what is it now, Kaiba boy? You gonna make fun of me? No. I would not do that. Especially if you're also an older brother, wanting to care for a little sibling. So, Seto Kaiba tosses him a package, an envelope. Joey gets it. He's like, hey, what's this? And what he sees is a bunch of rare cards that is able to help out his deck. A lot of warrior monsters, a lot of ways to bring back warrior monsters, things of that nature. And he has literally $1 million in cash. And Joey's just speechless. Is like, Kaiba, I don't know what to say. Thank you. Kaiba just, it's no problem, Wheeler. So, Seto hands Yugi and the gang the prototype duel discs in order for them to have the winning advantage over Pegasus. He goes over to Mokuba and he says to him, Mokuba, I wish we could help out Yugi and his little friends a bit more, but we need to get back to Kyber Corp and take back what was stolen from us. And this way, we can help them out even more. Mokuba thinks about this. He was reluctant at first, but he came around to agreeing to this plan. Okay, but you better promise, Seto, we're gonna help him. Seto smiles and nods. I will. So, as Seto thanks Joey and the rest of Yugi's gang for helping save Mokuba, they decide to leave, taking Mokuba with him, so that Pegasus doesn't have him as a bargaining chip, and that the two brothers can take back Kyber Corp. And this moment right here changes a lot of events. First of all, Yugi or Joey don't duel Seto, and these duels left an impact. More so for Yugi. Yugi wouldn't have to face him, and he wouldn't have to go through the trauma of almost, killing Seto Kaiba. So, Yami Yugi and regular Yugi are able to duel at their peak performance, never losing their confidence or hope. With that being said, they go to the castle. Of course, this is where they meet Maximilian Pegasus, and he begins to say this. Well now, if it isn't little Yugi and the rest of the gang. Let me clarify things for you. Just because little Mokuba isn't with us, don't think you'll rescue your grandpa that easily. Of course, Yugi's like, Pegasus! You'll pay for what you did! I will win back my grandpa's soul! Oh, I'd like to see you try, Yugi boy. And with that, the duel between Yami Yugi and Pegasus begin. Of course, like in canon, they do the mind shuffle technique, and they're able to beat Pegasus. So, basically, the Duelist Kingdom arc wraps up fairly quickly. All because Mokuba was saved early, Seto's able to gain back Kyber Corp, and Yugi and the rest of the game were able to beat Pegasus and save. That is it for Season 1. Now, for Season 2, I'm going to skim through this a little bit, but I will touch on certain moments, such as Serenity. She finally got cured of her blindness, and she's starting to get into dueling like her brother. Now, in the virtual world arc, where Seto, Yugi and the gang, and Mokuba began to face off against the partners, the business partners that Seto Kaiba used to have. Of course, even with the new dueling system called Duel Master Duels, the crew is able to win and is able to beat all of the evil corporate partners. And a duel I want to touch on is Nesbit, with his duel against Tristan, Duke, Devlin, Serenity, and Mokuba. Now, in this fight, he's actually going to be a lot more challenging, since he's facing off against 4 duelists. And he has really powerful monsters. Machines that are able to beat out other monsters. And he has pretty nasty spell and trap cards. Of course, with Mokuba helping out Tristan, Duke, and Serenity, Serenity and Mokuba are able to deliver the final blow towards Nesbit, finishing him off. And of course, we go on to Noah. Now, same thing, it goes like in canon. Noah gets defeated. Seto beats his adoptive father in a duel as well. Overall, this arc would be very short. Next and last moment, the Battle City Tournament arc. You know what I'm going to say. It usually goes like in canon as usual, except when Joey and Seto are about to duel, because Joey notices that Seto's acting more like a jerk again, like how he used to be in Season 1, challenges him to a duel, but with Seto's new attitude, trying to be all tough and brave, knowing that someone is after the Millennium items, even though he doesn't believe in magic himself, he's still not taking any chances with all the stuff that he's seen. The exchange would pretty much go like this. Hey Kaiba, just because you run this tournament and try to save everyone doesn't give you the excuse to be a jerk. Let's duel! Face it, Wheeler. You only got lucky. And you're terrible duelists. You only got here because of your red eyes. But your dueling skills need a lot of improvement before you're even able to face off against me. Of course, Mokuba steps in, stops the fight. And Mokuba's like, Joey, you need to think more often if you're going to challenge my brother. Of course, they take off. And that's that. So, after Yami Yugi wins Joey's red eyes back from the rare hunter, Joey takes the red eyes and begins to prepare himself for the quarterfinals of the Battle City Tournament. Another moment is Mai versus Merrick. With Mai losing the duel against Merrick, Joey is furious and wants to take revenge out on Merrick. Of course, the duel goes like in canon, with Joey seeming to be on the losing end, and getting shocked doesn't help either. Just when he's about to pass out from all the pain and shock that he's been through, trying to land one last attack against Merrick. Mokuba steps in. Joey! Joey, I know you're not giving up. Don't you dare give up now. If you fail, and if you lose, you're never going to be able to face off against my brother. Joey, hearing this, he gets woken up, and he has a surge of energy, adrenaline rushing through him. He's like, you're right, Mokuba. I gotta finish this. You hear that, Mary? I'm gonna get you. And so he says the words. Gearfried, the Iron Knight! Attack! Iron Shoulder Grass! And with that, Joey's able to land the final blow against Yami Merrick and defeat him. Everyone is shocked at this. That Joey, through all the pain that he's gone through, was able to land the final blow on Yami Merrick. And the next duel, and wrapping up this what if, Seto Kaiba versus Joey. Now, I want this fight to happen because this is to really show how much Joey, Mokuba, and even a little bit of Seto have gone through. So, as they begin their duel, Joey is not doing so well at the beginning, but around the middle and towards the end, he starts improving, figuring out how Kaiba's dueling style is. And he's able to incapacitate him and even damage him at points. So, the duel keeps on going. It seems intense. Who's gonna win? So, their turns, as they pass by, they land down their cards. With their monsters, they begin to do battle. And as the battle comes to a close, Seto Kaiba and Joey ended in a draw. That's right. This duel ends in a draw between Seto Kaiba and Joey Wheeler. And Seto is shocked at this, that he lost to someone like Joey and not Yugi. Of course, he's affected by this, but Joey's, oddly enough, satisfied. And he's like, you know, Kaiba, if you weren't so obsessed about defeating my pal Yugi, you would have been able to beat me even faster. Or not end this duel in a draw. But I don't care. At least I know that my dueling skills have improved. And so he begins to walk away. And not worrying about Seto Kaiba being his superior. And, well, after this moment, things wrap up like in the original canon story. Except the changes, the story arcs that Mokuba, Kaiba, and Joey have been through. Of course, the rest of the characters, they did grow through some things, but not as much, as this what if isn't focused on them. It's more likely on Mokuba. And it changes the story somewhat, with events happening faster than usual. But that brings this what if to a close. Alright guys, that was what if Mokuba was saved early. Now, I wanted to do this what if because I felt like Mokuba as a character wasn't utilized that much and could have been an interesting character had some things didn't happen or some things were changed around. But yeah. Anyways, that's all for this video.